Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 19th of May. Actually got kind of a slow day ahead of us. I believe we have Chairman Powell is going to be speaking at 10 o'clock Eastern time, which is going to make markets quite constrained until then, I believe. Also, Bank of Japan is going to be doing an emergency meeting. Market sentiment is a little bit softer this morning because Home Depot didn't do very well. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, but I can't show you, like, my charts aren't working. NinjaTrader is refusing to connect to CQG. It says, what does it say? It's going to try here. Oh, now it works. Third time's a charm, apparently. The second time I tried to do it, it tried to connect, it said that NinjaTrader was not authorized to connect to that FXCM. I was like, what? Wait, what? It's loading. So I think we're okay. So we can look at the charts here in a second. In the meantime, let's start up the text to speech. I was about ready to, like, just go into I've had it mode, because I went to AMP yesterday and because I want to know about VIX data. And I wanted to know, well, if I get the VIX index, does it give me access to the other CBOE volatility data? And so I asked their support, and their support, like, didn't answer the question. Oh, it was really frustrating. And then I come in and, like, it can't connect. I'm like, what? I can move my money. I can do it. I'll do it. I should. Anyways, loading here. Okay. So let's see if we can get into the chart here. So the 10-year really took a dive yesterday. So we were looking for it to come and take out this 24 area, 24.5. And as you can see, they handily took that and then some. I did get an okay exit. You know, like, it took a while for them to go and do it, but cool. So now there's this other point of control down below us at 14.5. But again, Powell's speaking today. I don't know if it really makes a whole lot of sense for me to put on very much risk today. I think we will try scalping on the E-mini, but other than that, and on the E-mini, we really got to make sure that we've got, like, good trend going before we try and take something. Like, where it's at right now, probably not the best spot. Anyways, E-mini. So yesterday, the E-mini just absolutely, just went. At one point, they were up at 26.5. Like, really. And then here again, in the overnight, another little spike up. There does appear to be some difficulty holding those levels. I do believe that some of this was a stop run. It looked like a lot of Wall Street was positioned short, and then the vaccine thing came out and blew them all out. So, yeah, but when you get a blowout like that, you kind of have to be careful, because, hey, that can reverse. Also, you can see here a little chippy. Oh my gosh. That sneezes. Anyways. So what I was getting at was here, like on the day, they actually took it negative a little bit. Now we're negative on the day. So we might have a pullback. I wouldn't be surprised if we come back to this 2920. 2920 is an area that we spent a lot of time at. Maybe some resistance there. Okay, so I think that's it. I should reiterate again. Japan is having like an emergency meeting or something like that. So the Japanese yen's effect on the dollar might be different. I should note that the dollar took a hit. So it's at 99.44 right now, the dollar index. So by the way, do I get Chinese? Let's see if I can find it. Do search CH F. Well, there's a CFD. M6F. I'm not sure which one you want to use. I think it's this one. Well, that didn't load. That loaded. Well, it gave me some data at least. Well, we'll just leave it like that. It does look like there's maybe a little bit of buying here in the E-mini. Also, I think we should change some stuff here in Discord. While I'm thinking about it, let's change headlines. Let's edit the channel. I wonder. Let's see here. What else we got going on here? President Trump criticized the World Health Organization, in which he has stated it has done a sad job and is a puppet of China. U.S. Treasury is to begin sending 4-minute economic impact payments. 4 million economic impact payments via prepaid debt cards this week. Governor Cuomo said the Western New York region is set to reopen Tuesday and urged sports teams to reopen without fans, while New Jersey Governor Murphy permitted some additional outdoor activities to reopen as the coronavirus spread continues to abate, and Texas Governor Abbott stated that bars can reopen. with limited capacity. China is reportedly considering targeting Austrian wine, dairy, fruit, oatmeal, and seafood amidst its COVID investigation dispute. I'm reading News Squawk morning briefing. Bank of Japan to hold an off-schedule meeting on May 22nd on further measures to provide funding for the banking sector. That's maybe a little ominous. Okay. Of course, Fed chair speaking today. A rocket attack hit near the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad's Green Zone. No casualties were reported.
Nate the Great says, man, them clutter charts ain't pleasing at all.
Yeah, this one down here. You know what? I kind of added something additional onto it that does make it really messy. I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not. Although it is kind of showing me what I want to see. So I don't know. Because what I want to see is there's this point at which you will see the short-term scalp machines will like get busted out, and you can very clearly see that it's at that line. But I don't know. It makes it a little too difficult to read. I also have these two lines on here, but I don't know. I don't really use the charts, especially right now. I'm kind of we were doing some things with the charts. For a week or two, I was testing out a strategy that was based solely on those charts, and it worked out okay. But there's problems with it, like any technical analysis based strategy. So I kind of changed things back to give me a better overall view of things. You can see over here. This one is still a little messy, I guess. Another thing, though, is you should realize that because of the
Nate the Great says, that's all that matter then, lol.
the other thing is that because of like these colors in the background and stuff like that, I've noticed that the H.264 codec can sometimes be weird about it. I'm probably okay to bump it up. No, like I'm using fast right now. Use medium. We use medium. 2 code. Anyways, I very much prefer to watch the Dom. I don't know if I'm really going to take a whole lot of trades today, though. Like I said, the context that I'm looking at here and everything, especially with Chairman Powell speaking today. Yeah. Man, this thing right here is like a huge eyesore. I can barely feel it, but you can definitely see it. That's interesting. Anyways. And then there's the jigsaw chart. That jigsaw chart is a totally different thing, right? Interesting that there's that big order at 29.40, but like when you look at it on the Vista chart, like it seems like a big deal. But when you see it on the Dom, you actually know the number. You realize that like it doesn't really matter. When Stan's mom says hi, I'm not gonna read that one out. No, I'm gonna read that one out. It's gonna say all the letters. You watch.
Winston's mom says hi, LJHDSDHJMJNHCDSDCCXZDCCXZCXZZDCXZZDCHJL, Loyu JHD Sawi UIOP.
Interesting that she started saying it at the end there. Weird. Some of this movement that I see overnight, like the drop from 48 to 36, looks like a little steep to me.
Winston's mom says cleanin' keys now. Lol.
Oh.
Winston's mom says wonky keys, I Apoloes.
Yeah, you gotta clean that. It's a haven for bacteria. You don't want to get coronavirus from your keyboard. So it looks like I do actually get Chinese yuan information of sorts, but I don't think it's telling me. I'm gonna remove it. The 6J is really taking a dive this morning, though. Looks like the treasuries are kind of responding in kind as well, yeah. So they are correlated, but like I said, Japan is going to be doing more measures, and until we know what that is, that's kind of a like a, I don't think that gives you a green light to trade it. Hmm. When you look at the DOM here, it 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 looks like it trended straight up, but it in reality it did not do that. They just happened to be at the high. Mm, European equities have shaved gains since the open and now reside in a sea of red as the strained relations between the US and China continue to hover as a gray cloud on investor sentiment. Meanwhile, despite Germany and France proposing a 500 billion European recovery fund, the unanimous approval itself could prove to be complicated. Netherlands, Austria, Denmark, and Sweden are not fond of the fund being distributed as grants, while the touted launch in 2021 may further strain peripheries hit harder by the pandemic, such as Italy and Spain. Wow, they're not going to do it until 2021? Uh, okay. Mm-mm. Today marks the first session since the European short selling ban was removed, as per yesterday's announcements, potentially providing price action with some influence. Sectors are mostly in the red. Breakdown also sees broad based losses across most sectors, but financials are far better on initial optimism on the EU Recovery Fund. Uh, uh, Home Depot was bad. Norwegian krona has paired gains alongside crude prices as waning risk appetite, with perhaps some acknowledgement of remarks from Norges Bank Governor Olson repeating that the deep oil rate has likely reached its lower bound, but there is more room in terms of economic policy. Bonds got to within 5 ticks of parity when broad risk sentiment and periphery bond wings were clipped by reports from France, quoting France Minister Le Maire to the effect that EU recovery funds will not be ready to tap before next year. However, relatively upbeat remarks from the Zoo Institute to support a better than anticipated sentiment reading in counter to our outlook appear to have scuppered the recovery. Never seen that as such a weird word. Scuppered, I've never seen that word before. Similarly, gilts bounced further from worst levels to reach 137.81, but have drifted all the way backwards towards parity after pricing and seizing at zero premium versus the existing 2060 gilt and GBP 7 billion respectively. US Treasuries have been largely sidelined throughout the futures, with futures hovering just below overnight session highs and the curve reflattening ahead of jobs data, Fed Chair Powell and Rosengren. Yes. Okay. What else we got going on here? Let's check Twitter. When asked if control of state aid will be essential for rebuilding the UK after COVID-19 and exiting the Brexit transition, the UK governor says yes. Oh man, like I've totally forgot about the Brexit thing. Like, can you imagine being in the UK right now? And it was going to be a tough thing with leaving and everything else, but then the coronavirus on top of that. Ah. Hmm. United States says EU resolution adopted at the World Health Organization takes first critical steps to ensure there is a World Health Organization and international system capable of responding effectively to next pandemic. The US says it disassociates itself from references in EU resolution adopted at the World Health Organization to sexual and reproductive health as it believes in legal protections for the unborn. Okay, that's just the administration doing their thing. Oh, where is? There we go. Oh, we got building permits came out. Building permits for April, one spot. Ooh, 074, one spot 074 million versus an expected 1 million. So pretty close in line. Building permits month over month, negative 20.8, and housing starts negative 30.2. That's awful. We think the ECB could end this year owning 40% or more of the government bond markets in Italy, Spain, and Greece, says Ransquak. That would help to cap bond yields this year, but it could create serious legal and political challenges for the central banks further down the line. Yeah. 40%? Really? Well, that's interesting. And the equities over here taking a pretty decent run there. They're now up a good 3 points, which for this time of day is not bad a run. Hmm. Brannigan Barrett, 4 hours ago, median asset wealth is 286K, likely At least 60% will never meet the threshold to pay any inheritance tax. With loopholes, it's like 90% never pay the tax. The future depends on equal contribution. We need to protect the future. So yeah. Sorry, Brannigan. Doesn't matter how few people pay it. It still has an adverse impact on the people that do. It can hurt small businesses. It's a bad way to try and raise wealth. Distribute the wealth. Listen, folks. This idea that the way to take care of income inequality is to give all of the money to the government is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my days in economics. How the hell do you fix income inequality by giving the money to the government? Huh? Yes. That's what we need to solve income inequality. More government power. Listen, we're probably not going to be taking a whole lot of trades today, so I can go off on a big rant. If you don't want to hear political rants today, just you can tune out right now. It's okay. We'll see you tomorrow. It'll be great. Or after come back when Chairman Powell is speaking, perhaps, right? But really, if you want to reduce income inequality, you need to give people at the lower rung of the economic bracket more opportunity. You need to give them opportunities to help themselves. Trying to tax people and then give it back to them, that's not going to do it. You don't lift people up by holding other people back. Just doesn't work. Oh, they're talking about wealth tax in the UK too, which I guess is not really. It's probably a different issue in the UK because the way the small businesses are is going to be different. But from Australia, members discussed the bank's works estimating the neutral real interest rate for Australia. The various estimates suggested that the rate had been broadly stable until around 2007, but had since fallen by around 150 basis points to around 1%. This equated to a neutral nominal cash rate of around 3.5%. Given that medium-term inflation expectations were well anchored around 2.5%, although there is significant uncertainty around this estimate. Futures traders saying there is no success without repeated failure. In general, the more we fail, the closer we are at succeeding. In trading, we have to fail smart, though. Okay. If Futures Trader 1 says, my bad, I will delete that tweet. Didn't realize what I typed. Hate typing on my phone. What the heck? Okay. I don't know what he posted. That sounds kind of funny. Okay. Well, we're having a good uptrend. We came back a little bit. I don't know if that's significant. I'm looking at just kind of looking across the board here. I can see that Treasury is still mostly offered, with the 10-year being uh, inversed to the others again. We come over and check the spreads here. I still see steepening. Can still see that the knob and twos and tens to some extent, although twos and tens is being a lot more volatile. And then 5 and 10. Yeah, it's steepening again. Steepening. Not necessarily a good thing, folks. But that really means that they're still selling the long end of the curve more. The 30-year is getting hit more. CS on VIX. The normalization in the implied realized spread, along with the front of the VIX curve moving back to contango, should bring more vol sellers back into the market. So he's basically saying that volatility is going to decrease again, huh? Post that in Discord. I don't know about. So they popped back up there pretty quick in the E-mini. Overall market looks pretty quiet though. My gosh, this picture right here. It has a picture of um it's when the guy is walking down the street with his girlfriend and he sees another girl and turns around and is like, "Oh, she's really hot," right? And it says that he's investors and they were with Gilead, but now they want Moderna because they have the cure. White House economic advisor Kudlow: Trump wants to see a 7.6% payroll tax cut. That'd be awesome, but probably zero chance of happening. White House economic advisor Kudlow: I do not believe that China will sell us debts. So where is he speaking? Kudlow on television, though. Somewhere he is on television. They're gonna move again? No. It is really quite
Trent
slow
Johnson
today.
says GM Seth, question.
Go ahead, Trent. We're like today's we're totally open
Trent
to chat
Johnson
today.
says I trade the ZB.
Oh, okay, hey. Cool. We can be friends.
Trent Johnson says, do you know what is going on?
I don't think anything is going on. Well, so are you asking like why has ZB gone down in the past day and overnight? Just in general? Is that kind of what you mean? Or
Trent Johnson says, sorry, Caps.
I mean, that's a question that I can understand why you might want to use all caps for it. No, is that you're just kind of asking why it's down? Yes.
Trent Johnson says yes, down 140 ticks since Friday.
Well, so I think that let's come back to this chart here. So first of all, I don't think that I should ever say I know what's going on. Right. We only see like a small little piece. But here's the thing. First of all, let's keep in mind that we've been in this range here since the beginning of March, right? Where we've been between like 176 and 182, right? We've been trading back and forth across this a lot. And for instance, on April 5th, we had a pretty good move down here, right? So that's just the first thing. Let's just realize that even though it looks like it was a really strong trend yesterday, it was not necessarily an unusual move. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is that it's at the bottom of the range, right? If we were like busting out of below 177 even, let's say, below 177 even and accelerating and moving down, then maybe I'd be like, man, what's going on? Like, this isn't making sense. So, anyways, I do think there's a couple of things that I can see going on right now, though, that seem to be contributing. First of all, we were at the high of the range, so of course it makes sense they're going to go back to the other side of the range. Two, that vaccine story yesterday just really changed a lot of people's risk sentiment. And equities are kind of in a turning spot where there's been heavy resistance before. And if they're able to break through that heavy resistance, I mean, man, at that point, the market is basically saying, in my view, like everything's great and we don't have to worry about anything anymore, which I don't think is true. But I mean, that's kind of the way that investors are going right now. So that story yesterday with the vaccine, that there's a vaccine in stage 2 trials, they went well, and they expect to have the vaccine at the beginning of the year. From a fundamental standpoint, it's really an overreaction because honestly, we were never gonna have a vaccine before the beginning of next year. Like that's always been the assumption, I think, in everybody's mind is vaccine beginning of next year. Don't think that this story changes that. So it kind of is weird, but the market cares about a cure. So you know, that's what happens, I guess. Also, a lot of Wall Street, it turns out, from what I can see, is short. Um, like there's a lot of short open interest in the futures and so forth. So man, that by the way, as I've started doing this, they really dropped, haven't they? Anyways, um, so there's a lot of shorts. So a lot of people got caught yesterday. Okay. Then another thing is that we're seeing some dollar strength the past 2 days because of this. So because of the dollar strength, or sorry, dollar weakness, the appetite for treasuries has decreased. The banks don't need to have as much treasuries to hedge themselves against their bets. So that hurts the treasuries as well. So I think that you kind of just ended up with the perfect storm of things. So I took a trade from about what was it, 28 or so up there, or it was oh 07 half. I took it from oh 07 half down to like 28 or something. And my only look at it was just seeing where the lines had been drawn and what the sentiment was because of the vaccine, and that's why I ended up getting that great trade yesterday. Now today, we have the Federal Reserve Chairman is speaking. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put risk on in the treasuries at the moment. And so you've seen they've barely moved 4 ticks. They've barely moved 4 ticks since we've been watching in the 10-year. So that's kind of my read on it right now. That's how I take it. I really don't know what the next turn is going to be. Are they going to go back up to the top of the range? Like, is Chairman Powell going to say something that the market interprets as overly bearish and really moves the treasuries back up to that high end of the range today? Or are we going to get pushed back down? And I don't think that in this location that I have enough information to really make a high probability trade, right? Like everybody in the market is kind of in the same spot. And we don't have anything that really gives us a significant edge over them. So I'm not going to touch it. And the E-mini isn't really moving the way that I would like either. So I'm staying away from it. Anyways, I hope that helps. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Okay. They did bounce pretty good. It looks to me. So I'm not necessarily getting clear indications of like range extension, but the market is moving around quite a good amount. So
Trent Johnson says thank you. We watch the same thing. Dom perfect storm is a good way to explain it.
yeah, you got some friends for us. It really was like the thing that I find interesting about the 10-year right now is that the space between buyers and sellers seems to be really wide. Like I'm noticing that when we tick up or down, it's quite frequently that we will see it only takes 800 to move it. So I think that means that where the big guy that wants to buy and where the big guy that wants to sell are actually quite far apart, and you can kind of see in a range chart and so forth where those spots are, or just on the DOM you can look for the big numbers. So there does appear to be a little bit of buying here at 20.5 in the 10-year, but we didn't have clear indications of sellers since about 15. Or sorry, where was it? Since about 24, right? So if there was a long bounce, if I was really putting on risk and I really thought that we were going to bounce long, actually I am seeing a couple of things that maybe suggest that we could do that. So let's just watch it. 24 might be a good target. 23, 24. And actually, it's an okay chart trade because if we took it here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then on this side, you could hold 4 ticks risk. I think that it could work. If we weren't close to the E-mini open and Powell was speaking and everything, I would maybe take that one. White House Economic Advisor Kudlow, the Trump administration has not decided yet on what further coronavirus relief measures it may back. So Congress is talking about a new bill, and the administration doesn't really know what they would like to see in such a bill. Bromide posting for us. The VIX here. It does look like we're slightly down from yesterday, but not significantly, as you'd expect. Volatility down despite a little bit of softness in the sentiment. So that kind of suggests to me, hey, we got to be careful about shorts in the evening. New poll: Biden leads by 7 points in Arizona. Okay, we should look at this. Let's pop up 270 to win. I think that Arizona was. Oh, no. Maybe I'm wrong. In Arizona, that's right. 7 points in Arizona. That could really screw things up. So if we come in here, let's make it just a couple of these red, because they're not. They really are safer than we expect. Now that's interesting that they have Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania all blue. Because I don't think that it is quite so clear. All right, you will get Iowa. I think North Carolina is probably. In fact, I think Virginia is maybe not a likely blue, but probably more Aleen's blue. Anyways, so let's just game this out here for a second. Let's say that Biden does really well and he gets Pennsylvania. Oh, probably not Ohio. I don't think that Ohio was in his grasp. But let's take Michigan and Wisconsin. Okay. And then you flip Arizona. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so. Yeah. So let's try and make it a little more equal. Say Trump gets Wisconsin. Yeah. Then so that with Arizona, if Biden picks up Arizona, that makes the race much closer. Well, let's just double check some of our assumptions here. Because I do believe that Biden has been above. Yes.
Trent
No,
Johnson says
on
Seth, yes,
auto
Powell is speaking. Please add Mnuchin also.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Wisconsin, they have that as blue. Well, I mean, it's Biden plus 2.7. So, Michigan is Biden plus 5. Pennsylvania, Biden 6. North Carolina.
Trent Johnson says 10
actually
AMS.
says it's close. It actually says North Carolina is close. So let's just leave it like that. And Minnesota. That's Biden 12. Minnesota's definitely blue. These ones should be equal. PA, these are the ones that are really up for grabs. Yeah. Nevada's probably going to go blue this time. Okay. New Hampshire's going to vote for Trump. Okay. I don't know about Maine, but given that they're not talking about it, it's probably going to go blue, right? I've got a likely Republican one in here somewhere still. Okay. Where does that 11 come from? Oh, do I have Arizona? There we go. Okay. And then Virginia, I think, is blue right now, right? Oh, man. Man, oh, man, oh, man. We're going to have to go through the probabilities on this now. I might have to dust off one of my projects because if they're with the way that I have the map drawn right now, that puts it equal. So how many different ways can that, well, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 possibilities. 32 possibilities. How many of them are really close? We might be able to go through those possibilities and see which state really ends up mattering more. But although I kind of just looking through this data, okay, like Wisconsin, Biden plus 2.7, and that was from March to May 7th. So it's actually a little older. Oh, that one I'm looking at Florida, Wisconsin. There hasn't really been really recent polling data. So we don't really know if Biden is pulled ahead or not. But the polling that we have been seeing has been that Biden kind of stays consistent and Donald Trump goes up and down. Man, just because of the way that the Electoral College works and everything, right now it's really close. It's really close. I don't think that it will actually end up being that close in the long run. I think that you'll probably see something happen and one guy runs away with it. But, jeez. Do we have here, that's the consensus. Let's see, all of their... Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so that is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Bank of America's May Fund Manager Survey. Investors still more bearish than bullish. Investors are long U.S. equities 24% and short Eurozone equities 17%. Widest spread since June 12th. Cash levels estimated investors see value underperforming growth. Okay, so let's see here. It will be a U-shaped or W-shaped recovery, 75% of investors. It is a bear market rally, 68% of investors. It is a bull market, 25%. It will be a V-shaped recovery, 10%. So we gotta be careful about this because I feel bearish, but what this data is telling us is that my own sentiment is not really all that different from everybody else's, and so to try and go short, in certain spots, we don't necessarily have an edge to do that because everybody else must be seeing the same things that we are. So that's interesting. Square letting employees work from home permanently. Seeing a note from somebody on Twitter that the volume in the 10-year was actually outpaced euro dollar options at one point. In the options. They're not necessarily giving like a sentiment, but just that the interest has increased in it. We only got 7 minutes to the open. Yeah, it's still like the thing that's funny is that it's moved, but the action is does look quite slow on the DOM. Like that right there. 29.4150. That is pretty random movement. Pretty random movement. Maybe slightly supportive to the upside. Those candles that I have, those are 5-minute candles, right? Yeah. It is going to be a quiet day today, guys. And there's a pretty wide profile here too in the 10-year, in the E-mini. I'm just going to keep trying to find stuff to read.
Ask Our Money Machine says, what is her favorite instruments to trade?
I really think that the 10-year is my favorite. Like, the thing is the E-mini moves around a lot, and there's definitely a lot of opportunity in there, but so much of that movement is random. Whereas in the 10-year, they move because something's happening, you know? Now, that something's happening might be correlation, and it may seem random to us, but I just think the battle that you got when I see the 10-year doing something, I can always wonder, okay, there was a big offer there, 21. They just bought it all. Stuck a really big strong bid below it too. 2.5 minutes before the open, and now they trade up 21.5 as well. That's what just happened there. Like, that is compelling. That is compelling story to me. That's a compelling story to me. There was an outsized offer. They took it. Watching the E-mini, everybody gets excited about the E-mini because the E-mini moves around a lot. Well, when I see it move around a lot, I'm just thinking, well, it's just noise. Doesn't really. I don't really like it. Well, okay, so that take there in the treasuries, and now the E-mini moving down a little bit. I can see that the Japanese yen is still going down.
Ask Our Money Machine says, yes, agree on eminence noise. It's trades random lots of time.
Yeah. I also see that gold is kind of pointed up, like maybe they've bottomed and they're doing a cup and handle sort of a formation. And the dollar is recovering too. So there's a possibility that the treasuries do pop up here. And remember, I was saying, where was it? It would had to have been a little bit lower. It was around 20, right? Yeah. Well, maybe we could have gotten 20. After that take, I think we'd be happy, but we were saying 24.5, right? So let's just mark that and see if they get there. So the read here would be bid offer sentiment, maybe a little bit weak today. So we should have a good chance of them coming back up there. But we'll see. There's not a strong enough and not a very good overall environment for trading today to take. But we'll still track it, right? Oh, Axia is. Oh, if you haven't seen, ugh, this one I have like really mixed feelings about this, but Jigsaw and Axia are doing a workshop on the 23rd to the 24th. But it's like $1,500. Now, I think that what they're going to teach you about how to trade news and everything like that is definitely going to be valuable information. But they sell inexpensive courses over there now, you know? You know what I mean? If anybody has the chops to offer a course that expensive, it's Axia. And I guess in the larger picture, $1,000 isn't a ton, but it still just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Okay, so on the open, about 1,000 lots net of buying. Turns back down. This is a relatively slow open as well. Treasuries going there. They're going to get to 24.5. Is it really 24.5 that we want? It's probably more 24, but we'll see where it kind of stops. Curious, and treasuries are up a little bit.
Ask Our Money Machine says you said you do programming services for algorithms. What is the minimum fee or price for simple indicator robot?
Well, so to be honest, I haven't done a whole lot of paid consulting work on that arena, just because 90% of the things that people bring to me are things that I really don't think that uh, you should be paying for. And I gain a lot of insight from it. And it helps the community out. So a lot of the stuff that I do, it just ends up being free. So you would have to message me with what it is that you're doing. But if we're just talking about a simple strategy, you know, it's probably going to turn into, you can totally do this yourself and I'll help you do it. But if you actually have something that is computationally complicated and requires real computer science knowledge in order to pull off, which has just not been the case with pretty much every recommendation that people have brought to me, then we can talk about a fee. And I normally go for an hourly rate. So I'm looking at it like how long it's going to take me to program and everything like that. And then I'd give you an estimate. But honestly, most of the algorithms that people bring to me are like, okay, I want, when this happens and this happens and this
Ask Our
happens, and I
Money
want to go
Machine
long.
says, and what is hourly rate?
So it's about 100. But I kind of, I so when I've done this thing in the past, I have a way of estimating how long it's going to take, and I base it off of that. So my number comes out to about what most other people would, but I don't really know a whole lot of people doing this in the future space. So I don't know if it is, but I guess the takeaway from that is that it would be highly flexible and negotiable. But first of all, chances are that you're not doing something that you would really need to pay me to do. Does that make sense? Okay, so they did take it down there. They didn't quite bust the bottom yet, but it's so close at 35.
Ask Our Money Machine says understood, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I do need to make another. I need to make a couple of videos. I actually think that the next video that I'm going to do is going to be how to interpret results. You know, like I've talked about this before, where I really think that there are three main categories of edge that you can pull from, and they are discovery of new trades, analysis, and execution. And I'm trying to build, like a larger intellectual framework that a new trader can use to um, find their way to a good trade. Because you can't just give it to them. It just doesn't work that way. Like, you have to come up with your own trading, right? So what is the framework that you can put people in that will most likely lead them to that? Um, and I think one of them is that when we begin trading, we're always thinking entries. We're always thinking strategy. What should my strategy be? When should I get in and get out? And how do I approach that? And what I'm starting to realize is that, especially for a new trader, the thing that's going to help you the most is sharpening that analysis edge, which means, like, just pick a strategy, like literally any strategy, and just trade it for 2 weeks, and then analyze what happens from that. And then, based off of your analysis, maybe you've decided that the strategy is just junk, but maybe you decide, okay, here are some things that I can do to make it more effective. And that's going to get you so much further. You know what I mean? So I think that's what I'm going to do first. And then after that, we do need to make a video about some of the pitfalls in when you're doing an automated strategy in NinjaTrader. But yeah, you just message me. Like, and this is another thing, because I've had a couple of people that were kind of like shy. They were like, oh, I don't want to take up too much of your time. But you can message me on Discord. Do it on Discord. Some people try on Facebook, and I don't really pay attention to that page. But if you message me on Discord, I will respond. Our community is not so large that I can't give you that time. So that's the kind of, like, my advantage, right? Like, think about it. Like, I have a YouTube channel. Who else has a YouTube channel? Futures Trader 71 has a YouTube channel. Axia Future has a YouTube channel. SMB Capital has a YouTube channel. And you have to think, so many of these what seem to me to be top tier traders have YouTube channels. Why? Well, there's a real advantage to it, because you get to talk to a lot of people and you get to see a lot of stuff that you wouldn't otherwise have, wouldn't otherwise learn. So to me, it's always worth it to help you guys out for anything, because I never know what information you're going to give me that could be useful. Okay,
Air
so we're
Cages
just going
says you get to talk to me.
Yeah, get to talk to Air Cages. I don't know. So I'm just watching this open, and it does look a little bearish to me. So far the action seems to be in line with my overall, like, what is the word? Sentiment analysis, I guess. Okay, look, so they did take 24 there. There was an iceberg on it. So I think that the trade, based on what I was trying to take, that hopefully we would see the iceberg and get out on that. But if not, we could have an order at 24.5, but maybe be ready to hit into 24, right? Now, at the same time, seeing that iceberg there also suggests that we might move up another tick or two. I think that has been the more common thing lately. There you go. So 24.5 that we would have gotten. Now, what about 25? Well, they're not hitting into it immediately. I think there's still a good chance that they'll hit 25. I'm getting that like sleepiness. Like I'm looking at it, but I feel sleepy. I feel like my focus is going, and if I stare at it too hard, though, I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm like my eyes are like a laser on that 25 right there. Like, are they gonna hit it? Are they gonna hit it? There's almost 3,000 have hit into 24.5 and absorbed. So maybe they're even thinking of going to like 27, maybe 24.5 was kind of the middle point. That's the point that I was looking for them to go to yesterday, right? What does our volume profile tell us anything about this? We need to do it in the 10-year. Well, there was a lot more volume at 28.5 yesterday than the other stuff, and that's the top of today's range. So, but this 24.5 is an area of interest going back so far. So, I think 24.5 is still a good spot to have taken it off. And again, we are going to have Chairman Powell speaking, top of the hour. So I guess the whole thing is a move like that. I was not expecting to see a move like that today. That was better than expected. But it must mean that the equities want to dump. I don't hold me to this one, okay? But I seriously suspect that the market is going to sell on something that Powell says today. I strongly suspect that the market is going to sell on something Powell says today.
Ewo Severin says they are hitting the drug news close to strong levels. Ewo Severin says lick E last time.
The drug news. Okay, so there's 25. Oh man, I don't know. They're still loading. They're still reloading at 25. Look at polls there. We getting. Okay, no. So when I said it was a buy, they were all kind of bid. Now I can
Ewo Severin
see.
says Breaking Bad.
Now I can see that the 30-year is bid much more than the 5-year is. And when I look at the spreads, I see some flattening going on in here. So it looks like they're
Air
buying up
Cages says take a trade.
the back end of the curve. No. Well, we could take a scalp here. I'm just not seeing. Oh, actually, right there. Oh, there we go. Hmm. There probably is enough to get it, but cool. Well, I need to come back here and look a little bit better here. So in the E-mini, if I think that we're gonna fall, see this point of
Air
control at
Cages says thanks.
2920. That's right.
Ewo Severin says
2920.
SPX tests the gap and shows the face, I think.
Yeah, I do think they're gonna sell. I mean, like you can see the reloading again. That one in context, given that we just had one, I don't want to take, but
Air Cages says that was a slick scalp. DJ Spinglass says newbie question, what kind of news events drive the treasuries up?
everything, man. So here's the thing about the treasuries, and part of what makes them a really good instrument to trade is that they're extremely economically sensitive. When you get that news like the jobs report, for instance, and so forth, and of course it hasn't been so much like this lately, but because like the news almost like doesn't even matter anymore. But typically, especially that 8:30 news that happens really early in the morning, um, you want to trade those with the treasuries. Oh, they can move really well during those times, and many times where I see it go, and the E-mini does nothing because the E-mini is not open yet, and so they don't really react to it. They react more to it when they open. You know, like some of those best trades are you see something, there's not like an outsized reaction to it right off the bat, so it gives you room to get into it, and then you can just kind of ride it, and then as it goes along, people realize that what happened was more and more important until you get to the E-mini open, and then all of the investors are involved in moving it, and that's when you can really get like a really strong trend day that you really catch, you know? So just about anything that affects the economy, world politics, they're so sensitive to news, and that's one of the things that makes them such a good instrument to trade, right? If you really have a good read for the news and the sentiment, I've found that you can make good trades with it. I think that I've had some issues in the past because I relied too much on my read of the technicals in it, you know? Well, I tell you what, if I had taken this long trade at like let's say 21, think it was actually lower than that, but let's say 21. And then we're at 26 right now, but it's still giving me stuff to say that I can hold it. So I can see there is a little spot at 27 that's definitely in the area. Like, we're definitely where we're getting into the offer. So we will see if he's still there. I thought maybe it would be a 24.5, but they didn't. There was one iceberg there, and then there was reloading. So maybe you take it off there, but there was enough that you could have said to keep it on, because we're really looking for that offer right now, right? So we're looking for some icebergs. We're looking for, or a tick up and it hits back up in here to see if the guys at 27, if they're still there. And the 5-year, I don't know. The 5-year kind of is suggesting to me that they're going to go for the high of the day. So this is interesting. What about the other things that I'm looking at here? I can see the tick so far is mostly negative, and the advanced decline is negative. Yeah, everything that I'm looking at seems to suggest down. So there is some volume right there at 29.35, but we're like 8 minutes before Powell comes in. So, like, I think there's some guys that sold, but probably what you're going to see here is a little bit of unwinding of the shorts before Powell speaks. Despite, again, like, I really heavily suspect that he's going to say something that makes him sell. Like, they're already primed for it. Like, some people had already read his comments over the weekend that really were not all that bullish, but some investors only read what they wanted to hear. They're going to see him speaking in front of Congress live, and he's going to say, "Hey, this is going to take a while." They're not going to like it.
DJ Spinglass says so good economic or jobs news drives them up. Am I wrong in saying that treasuries are a hedge against a falling stock market?
It's good economic news or jobs news. Well, those will push treasuries down, right? Typically. If it's bad news, it'll typically move treasuries up. You're absolutely right that treasuries tend to be a hedge against a falling stock market. Okay. But it's much more nuanced than that, because you also have to remember that treasuries are a hedge against inflation, and treasuries are a vehicle for debt. And so there's a number of competing supply and demand constraints on the treasuries that are going to affect them. So that can kind of lead to some of these bizarre correlations that will really confuse people sometimes, right? Like, you'll think, okay, So if the stock market is moving up, then treasuries should move down. But then you'll see these situations where both the treasuries and the stock market move up. And what's going on there, and what the reality is that the Federal Reserve is saying that it's going to do more quantitative easing or something like that. And when that happens, that means they're going to keep rates low. But then the market says, well, we really like the rates being low, and that's going to help these companies, and so they both go up, right? So there's complexities like that. But the larger point was they're very sensitive to news, right? Like news about an individual stock performance. Not probably, the treasuries don't really care, right? But all the news that people typically think about. Economic news, there's a war somewhere, Congress is doing something. These are things treasuries react really well to. So we got about 4 minutes. They're definitely coming back up. Yeah, man. You know what? I don't know what it is. I may just be getting lucky, but I'm really happy with my read of the markets the past 2 days. And I've been trying to take a slightly different approach and focusing on
Air
different
Cages
things.
says take a
And
trade.
it's really working. I don't want to take a trade right now. He's trying to talk me into it. I can see you could take a long there, but I don't want to take it ahead of the speech. Tell you what, I guess I could have taken it at 29.43, huh? But I'm still really. It's hard to get into that mindset. Like, okay, like I'm ready to take a trade and I'm not ready to take a trade. And if I come in and I say like today is not very favorable towards trades, um, if I come in and I start taking trades, I'm just going to get into that mindset of starting to take trades. And even though there's probably one or two that I can get away with, I really have a tendency to overtrade, especially if it doesn't work out. So I think that right now is probably makes more sense to just sit on my hands. Like we had one theoretical trade that I didn't take because I said that the context and the length of time for the trade and everything was not a day that I wanted to put that much risk on, but it would have been a good trade. And I think that the logic and everything behind that was really solid. And we took one down at the bottom in the E-mini and then I realized when the sentiment was turning, and I played that really well. We could have taken that one up at the top, but I missed it. So who knows about that one? It does look like it would have filled, but we can wait. There's always going to be more opportunities, right? Who is this guy in chat? Looks like we have a troll. Man.
JB says don't cave to the trade pressure. More often than not, breaking your rules ends badly.
I agree. I'm not necessarily setting a rule. I'm just kind of spitballing where my yeah, okay. So they hit into 27. I didn't really pay attention how much they traded up there.
Iwo Severin says 2,950 a check level.
So let's switch this over here really quick. Let's see here. One. Okay. So there was about 4,000 on both sides at 27. So 27 was definitely the spot. I wasn't paying too close to it, but
Ewo Severin says looks to be VPOC of the range starting yesterday 1700.
if Powell sticks to the same story, I think the market will be flat. I agree. If he says anything remotely bad, markets will pull back on market. Based on the past, he does not normally steer far away from his initial comments. Okay, so here we're going to get his comments here in a second. The equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane heading towards India and Bangladesh, the countries already struggling with the pandemic. Yes, this is a big problem. I don't know how India impacts the rest of the world or the United States in particular to make a trade out of that, but that's something that we need to be watching.
RJ Wheel says they must like Powell's tie
They
selection.
must like Powell's tie selection. Have they released his initial okay, here it is. Here it is. I'm just gonna read it. I'm gonna read it to myself really quite quickly. Okay. Okay, so reading through it, it is mostly just a recollection of the actions that they have taken during the crisis. And he doesn't really, in his initial statements, he doesn't really say anything about the sentiment. So, okay, yeah. So, anyways, again, I read through it. I just scanned through really quickly, and the speech is mostly a recollection of the actions that the Federal Reserve has taken during the crisis. So I don't really see anything terribly market moving in his initial comments. It's going to be after he's done with his testimony and they get to the question and answer section when you're going to see, you know, where the sorts of things that he might say that could be market moving will show up. I can see the price action overall, it looks fairly bullish, but is still kind of flat at the moment. Okay. Just checking the treasuries again, I see that they have settled at 26. Okay, so I can see advanced declines starting to maybe turn positive. I can see tick is getting to the spot where we could maybe short it. Should we try it right there? Missed it. Shit. I was about to get out of it and then that pop happened. Oh man. What was that? Well, that's okay. Oh man, on that one too, there was like bad slippage. But it's okay, we made it back.
Air Cages says told you to take a trade. He rub it in, rub it in.
Well, no, you didn't see. I don't think you saw the first one. I when I saw that they were like overdone on the tick and they were coming back down, I said, okay, there's some absorption here. Like maybe it's worth trying. And it kind of went down and it wasn't going. And then all of a sudden, this huge rush up came up and stopped me out. So I don't know what caused that because there's nothing. He's not saying anything. But then I turned around and I took it long and I actually came out positive from that. So it's okay.
Air Cages says lol that rush up was me buying. It's all good.
I want that move is a little suspect. What's going on with that one? You gotta wonder. Such a huge rush up above the like that last resistance area. Well, let's not call it resistance, but like last peak at 29.48, they just
Air Cages says can't
boom,
believe the market is going up.
just boom right through it. Well, now that we're getting things like that, it might be better to sit on our hands and consider ourselves lucky that we got away with that. Oh my gosh. I mean, did he say something? He's still reading his comments right now, right? Well, I'm really interested to know. They must have been talking about it on the news squawk and they said something and that's what caused that. That was just a really
Air Cages says traders gonna trade.
Right. Traders. Get your own traders gonna trade mug in the shop now.
RJ Wheel says he reached for a glass of water with steady hands. The Beauty of Aviation says Seth, you are a clown. When someone says you suck, you ban them. Maybe you should learn how to trade, dude. Instead of trolling your followers, you look like a bitch.
Yeah, you know what? I do. People that are trolling get banned. I have the discretion to do that. And if I decide that I don't like you, and I don't like you because you are an asshole, then I can ban you. And it's that simple. Anyways. I was just reading what some of the guys here in Discord are saying. What's that, Gary? No. I sure hope not. No, it's somebody else. Who knows who it is? This is just, you know what? I've been getting trolled. I'm not really in for this. So you know, I kind of feel like I made a mistake yesterday because I'll tell you this story while we're going in here, but let's just like keep a really close eye here on the Twitter. But he's still going to be reading his comments, so, and I really don't know what that last move was, but so in the Facebook group there, I was seeing somebody was posting something, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, just trade the opening range breakout," and he showed that how well the opening range breakout worked yesterday. So he was basically saying, from my understanding, you look at what the overnight opening range was, and then as soon as it broke that overnight opening range, then you take it long. Okay, so we've done some stats on this before. I don't know if I've backtested it exactly the way that this guy is trying to trade it, but I've done some stats on this before, right? And we know that the chances of if they start the session above the overnight open, chances are that they're gonna close the session higher 60% of the time, but that there's also a really good chance that they still trade that overnight open price a few times. So it's a trade that if you were really willing to hold like all of the risk for it, it can work out. But in the long term, you're going to have drawdowns that are really ugly, and it doesn't really have a very good expectancy on it, right? So I see this, and I'm like, so I didn't want to just like trash the guy. So I tried to be, I tried to just ask some questions to kind of maybe guide him to what I knew. And so I asked, like, have you tested it? And he kind of got upset at that suggestion. Look at him go. You could maybe buy that one too. I don't know if I want to do it while they're doing, because I don't know why they're trading it. Did they not know that you can read his comments before he says it on television, guys? These morons. But I don't see anything in his comments that would really suggest a trade to me. That's the funny thing. Okay, whatever. It's fine. I'm just gonna let them do what they're gonna do. Okay. Anyways, so he kind of got upset at that. But, he was just like, well, I take a different trade every day. And I was like, well, then you should like keep it in a spreadsheet and know how well that trade works so that you can tell if when you trade it, if it actually works or not. And so then later I made a post that was like, hey guys, here's like what stats look at and like what you need to look at. That's why earlier I was saying like, I think that next videos we need to do a little bit more like, here's how to look through a strategy, because I feel like that for new traders, that's the thing that they should really focus on, is not necessarily find a strategy that's profitable, but just have the ability to look at a strategy and see what it's good and bad at and how to make it better. That I think is a much more useful place for you to start. And I didn't name the guy or anything like that, but clearly it was a little bit of, like I don't want to say like a passive aggressive thing, or certainly I could see how he would read it like that. I was also posting it because we still have these other rooms that have been lying about their performance. and saying things that I just really think that if people questioned, they would almost immediately expose these people for what they are. And so I also posted for that. Anyways, so then later he came back and he made a post that was like, "Oh, okay, here's a back test run in TradingView." And the back test actually kind of shows what I was expecting it to, right? Kind of worked pretty good this year, but overall there's some real issues with it. It had a Sharpe ratio of 0.5. So and really like a good strategy would be over 1. Like a really good strategy that I would be like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like something that I would like to trade myself." Over 1. Anyways, so he did that, and so many people were like, "Oh, you contribute so much. We like you, this and that." And I'm like, guys, like, now I'm the bad guy, I guess. That's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But I just feel like, guys, this is, if you're having trouble being profitable, this might be one of the reasons why. This might be one of the reasons why. Because you're just going off of what some random person on Facebook said without having any clue how well what they're saying actually works. And then you just say, "Oh, well, it's like a good contribution," but it's really not. Especially not especially like if you do that in Discord, like, go ahead, you post your trades and you can give your reasoning for it, and if it's a trade that you're taking, then good for you. But like, especially when you're like doing analysis after the fact and you're posting it on something that's going to be like there and discussed for several days afterwards, like, I really think that you should have some idea of some of the statistical properties of what you're doing. You know what I mean? Just like I try to be very careful about, if there's something I'm doing, like with this scalp, I think that there's a way to do it to get a 70% win rate, but the way that I'm doing it is not it, and I know that. But I'm practicing to try and get good spots. Maybe we're getting better at it. So there was that big sweep up, and then it continued on for a bit, and now we've retraced it. We expect to maintain interest rates at this level until we are confident that the economy has weathered recent events and is on track to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. In other words, treasuries are going to be up here for a very, very long time. Anyways, so that's my story. But I feel bad because I don't really want to get in drama, and I feel like that the way that I went about it kind of triggered the guy a little bit more than I expected, and it caused drama, and I'm not happy with that, you know. But then somebody comes in and they want to troll the channel, like, why? I can just ban you. Why would I put up with that kind of stupid bullshit? The funny thing was, I don't even think they were watching this stream. Like, because he said a bunch of stuff in Discord that made no sense at all. Like, if you had been watching, you would see that we haven't really put any risk on, and that the calls that I made so far have worked out really well. Okay, well, we'll see if when his testimony starts that we get the selling, but let's just check. Let's see if we can get Powell's testimony up here somewhere. Well, all of the news stations are showing it. Tell you what, I'm going to mute the desktop audio here for a second so I can listen to it. I'm a little concerned about... Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so he's still speaking. He is doing it via via remote. This is going to be interesting. The Q&A section is going to be super interesting, man. That's so weird. Let's see here. That feed doesn't have... There we go. That feed was not stereo. It was only coming out of the left ear. Okay, so I'm going to mute him because he's not done talking yet. He's not done with his initial comments. Very gloomy comments from UK Chancellor Sunak. UK facing a recession, the likes of which we haven't seen. Expects the virus impact on labor market to be severe. Official market forecasts point to double-digit jobless rate. Jury is out on what UK economy will look like post-crisis. Yeah. ECB's Lane says decisions we have taken since March to contribute to further easing of 10-year rates by lowering the term premium by more than 10 basis points. Ooh, that would move it. That would do it. I really want to know what it was that caused them to take that huge sweep in the E-mini. That was weird. There must have been something in his opening comments, but it must have been... There must be some retail trader out there with too much money or something and cause a sweep like that. Because I don't think an institutional trader is sitting there watching it and saying, okay, here's... No. He would have done what I just did, look at his comments and read through it first before he says it on TV. And you notice there wasn't any move when they released the initial comments, right? Well, you can get these sort of things where they sweep it up and then it like really gets them off balance and turns into a sell. But at the moment, I think it's probably best for me to just like not touch it. Certainly, if I wanted to go short, this would be a bad spot. Doesn't quite line up for me. I'm bouncing around a lot. And my voice, I don't know what the deal is, but I've been like drinking my water faster in these days. And it's 8:30. This is about the time that I normally would take a break. So let's do that. Let's take a break. We'll see if maybe they get into a little bit of a better spot. Look at the treasuries. They're still moving up. So they're going to go for more than my trade. I wonder, can they make it back up above 139? Interesting overall. This has become a much more eventful day than I was expecting, just because of that treasury trade alone. But equities, they're not done. We'll see how this resolves. So they're already come back there in the treasuries. They fell back like what, 3 ticks there, really fast. We need to come back over here. Oh yeah, they didn't trade a whole lot up there. I don't know. That 28.5 is a node, and like you basically get single prints all the way up to 139.07 half, where I took my trade yesterday. I don't know if that whole thing is gonna retrace. So I think that unless Powell says something that like really affects the treasury market, I think that our opportunities in the 10-year are significantly less now. It does look like the E-mini has calmed down a little bit, and maybe they can try and make another bull run. I missed it. That's so good. Still a little too tight, I guess. So are they going to turn down lower now from that? Well, let's scratch that one. Let's just listen in on him again over here. Okay, so question and answer section has started. Oh, I forgot the Minution is speaking as well. So they're asking Minution a question. Maybe I missed it. Maybe what I missed was Minution. Well, that one doesn't look too great. Oh man. So the senator is asking him, how many people do we expect to die if we send people back without protections? And I'm like, uh, that's a question for your public health official, not for the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Secretary. Talk about this is I really hate the congressional testimonies because it really, I mean, they say some useful things in them, but I don't like watching them because it turns into theater. Hmm. Darn. They came close on that one. I think I didn't take that one with I think I made a mistake on that one in a couple of ways. Can see where what I was thinking. Gold is moving up still. So our treasuries. Dollar kind of uncertain. Even after that like huge spike up, a lot of my sentiment indicators are still negative. Hmm. I know. I've only listened to 10 seconds of it, and I was already like, God, you could be kidding me, right, guys? Like these are not. You're not asking them the right questions. Politics. Keep finding myself being a little bit late. I don't like the way I got filled there. Not at all. Hmm. Okay. I think that's the first one where I didn't like the fill in it, and it ended up well. Right. It is going to be an interesting one because you're going to see the Democrats are going to be interested in trying to nail the administration coronavirus epidemic on the administration and not so much on what is the correct economic policies that Congress should enact at this moment, and what is the Federal Reserve doing, and how can we understand it better, right? Which is really what the purpose of that meeting is supposed to be. Instead, it's just theater. Like screw it, screw that. I can see some good amount of volume trading here at 29.4850. Gotta come over to here. Okay. Just taking note that at 39 was kind of the spot on the open. Okay, yeah. Okay. So they're kind of trying to push each other around right here. See right there, range wise, that's a good spot, but right there actually, that's the bottom of it. Look, they broke it. You're kind of playing with our moving average too, which oh man, Gary. 39.45. So I believe they're actually, yeah, we're down on the hour. We'd have to go down a little bit more to be down on the day, huh? Not a whole lot though. Oh, do I not have the indicator on here? Thought I did. Oh, I do. I just don't have it for the day because it was too messy. It's around 47 though. Fed's Kashkari, the U.S. has the extraordinary fiscal capacity to borrow and spend what we need to get through this crisis. Fed's Powell expects Main Street lending program, other outstanding facilities to be running by end May. The Fed can use other tools before negative interest rates, says Kashkari. Okay. Nope. Didn't catch a good spot there. Ugh. This one is being a little bit more fickle than I'm comfortable with, but we're gonna let it play out. Okay. So do you know what happened to what caused that huge rush up when Powell was still doing his opening statement? Because I read the statement, and I didn't see anything in there that seemed significant, and then all of a sudden there was this huge pop, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" Mm, not favorable. Okay. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, so they're below the open, but it's could like really slow down since they've done that. Yeah. It's like right there, 29.3850 or so. I think I was a little early, so we'll just wait again. All right. Nope. I don't know about this one. It seems a little too slow here. Guess I should keep in mind too that some of that downturn happened during the reversal time period, so counter trend period or whatever. I didn't really notice. I don't know if that's really a huge deal. So I'm not happy with this. So if I come over and I look back on this chart right here, 49. I didn't see any position through any of that was big enough uh, to really be sending any alarms off or anything. Looks like there was maybe some big orders at points, but yeah, they are. I'm either wrong or I'm early. That wasn't the spot. The treasuries are coming down a little bit. Wonder if if the treasuries come all the way back down to here, that would be interesting. I don't know. Well, oh, do I still have my here it is. Yeah, it's too far back for me to see. I didn't notice. I'm just in the E-mini. I would be a little wary about reading too much into any one particular order. It's when you start to see tens of thousands absorbed in a certain area that I would pay attention. You know, there was quite a bit of defense down there at the bottom, right? Hmm. That was an interesting stack there. Yeah, I don't know. Like the thing is there like this thing right here. this this uh, and this big up move here. It slipped up right there. That it's too much. It's too much. They had to give it up. It kind of puts them back at break at even, doesn't it? So I'm not sure that I really have a really good idea of which one they're gonna do. I thought when we were breaking the open, that seemed like a good bet for it to continue, but it was either wrong or it was early. I have an idea of where I think it can go if they decide to go short, but I think the placement of that one was off. And this one, they came back up here, but then again, they're already slow again. Could have taken that one though. Could have taken 42. Should pay attention. And the treasuries are all offered now too. Fed's Powell layoff by state and local governments will slow the U.S. economic recovery. Well, they're not quite getting over the 49.50. You said there was a big order up there, right? Yeah, they're doing something. Something's happening here. Hmm. This actually might be a little bit too much counter trend. Yeah. Do you see the amount of contracts being traded through here now, though? Hmm. 700's being traded in here. This is why I got this thing so that I can see. So when it starts to get to 10,000, I start to think. Now, the cumulative delta on this bar so far is negative still. In this past hour. So really the past 30 minutes. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, they're in buy the dip mode today. Jeez. This is not a place to be playing. I'm seeing the stacks and stuff, but it's pulling on the ask. There's actually 1,000 that pulled off of the ask at 29.50. Hmm. That one's not working so well. Oh, it's not too bad, but definitely that last one was not really in a location that I really think I should be trying to make that play. He's got a picture. Well, yeah. I mean, I think we all know that we're coming up into resistance, or at least a key line that the market has had trouble taking out. I'm looking for a reason why it matters right now. I'm not sure I'm seeing it. It kind of looks to me like buy the dip. especially since they were able to hold the open price as well as they did. It's thrashing hard for sure. That's where it was like on those last two. It's just thrashing too much. It's funny that he was like, take a trade, like I had already gotten in it. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the screen up. Oops. I don't know. It kind of went a little bit in my favor, and now it's kind of not. There's the AC. That feels good. Well, I think the reason you sell in May is because the trading during that time isn't very as high. I mean, for us, it makes sense to just go on vacation. For the long term investor, I don't know if that matters. I continue to look at this from I think that we kind of have to look at it from one, a fundamental, and two, a sentiment. And when you look at that, the fundamental picture doesn't look very good. The fundamental picture really doesn't look very good. And the sentiment picture is overly bearish. So you've kind of got this situation where it everybody thinks that it needs to go down. And probably it should, but because they all want to do it, it can't. No. I think well, number one, I've seen stats on it that seem to suggest that it's not all that great of a trade. But then number two is I don't think that it's for your like a larger market directional call. I think that phrase was made up by market makers that knew that the summer actions sucked. You know? Hmm. Well, I am starting to think that that's what's going on. Like when I was doing my Ninja Trader backtest, you know, and it can come up with a strategy, right? So like any especially obvious levels. Like I think like the open of the day, the open of the hour, the opening range, like all of these numbers that we come up with, and definitely the simple strategy that you're going to come up with like on that. An algorithm can come up with that. And if it was really that good, they would test it out and do it if it worked or not, right? But then the edge would be taken out of it. So then that would maybe encourage other robots to try and hunt that robot, and so you got the robot metagame. So if it's a robot metagame, then that kind of a strategy doesn't really make sense, does it? Like a strategy that is based purely on market generated information, technical analysis doesn't make sense because the robot will always beat you to it. So the only kind of trade that I think makes sense for us is the one that is backed by some sort of a um, bigger read that's difficult for a robot to do. So, like based on sentiment, positioning, and fundamental news. Well, right now, I mean, I'm scalping it, of course, but maybe I shouldn't be because Chairman Powell is speaking. We haven't really gotten a whole lot that changes the picture for us. You can't seem to catch a spot for the thing I'm trying to make happen. It's just too choppy. So, anyways, it made sense when it was down at the lows, or maybe before it went down at the lows, but then they popped up higher, and now it's kind of like a wash. My trade in the treasury, though, theoretical trade in the treasury was a really good call. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, like you said, it's just a little too choppy. I think another thing is I might be attracting too much attention here. Maybe that means that I should like just dump a big 5 lot on there. Come get me, bitch. Oh, I got out. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Really is like too tight in this location. I guess that we got the London close coming up, and that might be part of why they're fighting. So they're pretty close to where they were yesterday, you know. Past few sessions have been a scalper's wet dream. Well, yesterday was great for scalping if you were gonna if you had a trend strategy. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why, because we're still playing with this trade that like um I know has problems. Trying to figure out when it's enough trend for me to actually get it, and I'm having a really hard time figuring that out. So this one seems like a really high probability to me, but it's not filling immediately. See that? So it's like you're too late. You'll get it. Well, the one thing is yesterday I definitely knew like what was happening. I just took it in the treasuries. Oh my gosh, really? So this bar is kind of out of nowhere. Lasting unemployment can weigh on economy for years. Says Powell. I don't know. I can't explain. Can't really explain it. Nope. Okay. So we're getting really different movement up here. I'm not sure I don't understand what's going on. Hmm. Come on. That's a little better. Not really getting the contracts going through now. There we go. US faces biggest economic shock in living memory. I don't know about this one, guys. Market's kind of acting a little erratic now. Looks like it could consolidate higher, but there you go. What's our targets, by the way? Like our volatility targets. 66. Doable. No, sorry. Haven't been paying attention. People all say the trend is your friend, but what is their definition of a trend? $1 trillion trust? That's classified information. Senator Warren wants the Fed to criminally charge CEOs. What a boob. Let's charge her for cultural misappropriation. Oh my gosh. Well, I really hate watching those things because Congress always asks questions that are just inappropriate for the venue. I really wish that they would have more respect for the offices that the people that are coming in there. But all they care about is the dog and pony show. Like here's an opportunity for Congress to ask the Federal Reserve important questions that can give them insight into what kind of policies would best support the economy and support the what the Federal Reserve is doing. And it could also be a place for Congress and the Federal Reserve to kind of how do you say, consolidate their strategy, I guess, like collaborate and make sure that we're all doing the best thing for the American people. And what does Congress do with it? They make it into a big old political thing. They ask political workers, how many people are going to die? Why are you asking the Treasury Secretary that, you fucking moron? How just, have you no shame, man? Have you no shame? Everybody that's watching this knows what you're doing. Nobody watches that and goes, "Oh, that senator is asking a really great. I'm really glad that he asked Secretary Mnuchin that question, because I'm sure that Mnuchin will have such powerful insights about this particular issue. We the American public really know. Nobody says that, dude. You're making a shameful attempt to create a political bite for the evening news so that the misinformed public can watch that one question out of context and make some big thing about, oh, how the rich are destroying the economy or whatever the thing is. It's such bullshit. Apologize for going on such a political rant there, but it's not really a political rant, right? Like it's both parties do it. It's a rant that has to do with the thing that we know about, the economy. And here you see the politicians taking advantage of the public's misinformed, knowledge about economics. It's so frustrating. Do you think the S&P 500 is bearish? I really don't know, Hamza. I was saying in chat I had a suspicion that they might sell. There was a sell during that they wouldn't like the Federal Reserve's comments, because there is this thing where they read like, oh, there's going to be a recovery, but they didn't hear him. He said like, it's going to be into next year. Like, those weren't bullish comments, right? So I do kind of think that some of the bulls are just hearing what they want to hear, but that's not something that I really think we could solely base a trade on, right? So we think it's bearish today. I don't know. It started out, there was definitely some bearish action, but since then things have changed. So I really can't really say with a whole lot of certainty where it's going to go. I have a long on right now. I'm looking for maybe the upside target is going to be around 2960. So I think that's where I'm going to try and take it to. I was originally looking for the high, but look, we're so close to the high now that it's kind of weird that you would come in and say, do you think the S&P is? That sounds to me like you're trying to bullshit people, dude. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just being overly suspicious. There's been suspicious happenings today, though, and I'm on guard. Well, they were coming close there, and now another sell. We got 5 minutes until the European close. That's probably a big part of why we're chopping around like this. Here is the galactic boob, Senator Warren, waiting for a bat to fly. And here's another thing: as of all of the people that should know better, it would be Elizabeth Warren. You would think, not that she's an economics major, but she's a lawyer. She should know, and she doesn't care. They don't care. All they care about is getting reelected. This reminds me of a conversation we're having on Facebook, because here in Utah, the governor's race is really tight. There's like 3 or 4 people that are running for governor, and I don't really like any of them. The one person that I thought would do an okay job at being governor simply does not have the name recognition to get there. Okay. So people were arguing. They're arguing over the coronavirus thing. And see, there's one guy named Greg Hughes who has been speaker in the Utah legislature for some time and is quite conservative. And he is really been pushing, his push has been, oh, I was a Donald Trump supporter from the beginning. Like, that's what he's basing his candidacy on, which in Utah, I'm not sure if that's smart. And then you got Cox, and he's kind of trying to play the politically correct police sort of game. Not police, but he's very careful about, oh, we need to say all the right things. And for instance, he made comments saying that in the past he was disparaging towards LGBT people, for instance. That's one of the things that he's famous for. Okay. So that's kind of his thing, is he's kind of politically correct, right? So they're saying, why is Greg Hughes, I was only pushing Donald Trump, and what about actually providing some like comfort and empathy during like the worst economic crisis of our lives? And I'm like, who fucking cares? Dude, you want politicians to drag your heart around, manipulate, lie to you, and get away with it, because that's how they do it, my friend. Why are you looking to the government? Why are you looking to a politician to comfort you and to provide empathy to you during a crisis? That is what your bishop, that is what your priest, that is what church is for. Hopefully you have a church congregation, you're getting together like on Skype or something like that, or maybe you can that's spiritual shit, in my opinion. If you take it that way, and if not, hey, maybe you can go and see a therapist, or you can talk to family if you're feeling afraid or whatever. But don't look to the fucking governor. No, you know what? Like when Kumo gets up there on the press stand, or when Donald Trump gets up there on the press stand, he is not saying, oh, this is important information. We need to have these press conferences every day because these are all of the important things that the American public needs to know. That is not why they have that press conference, folks. They have that press conference because it helps them get reelected. And if you care about that in your leader, you're going to get manipulated every fucking time. Every time. Doesn't matter. Don't pay attention to it. It's not indicative of a good leader. See what their policies are. See how smart and detailed their policies are. See how effective their past executive actions have been. Those are the things that you want to look at. See what their personality is, and their reputation and things like that. Those are things that matter. How they make you feel when they talk, well, ignore it. Ignore it. That's how they manipulate you. So there's my political rant. Maybe the answer here is that when the Federal Reserve talks to Congress, it should be behind closed doors. No cameras, so that they can actually ask real questions, and we can actually, get to the bottom of the things that they really need to know to better serve the American public, instead of turning it into a circus. Well, does look like they went for the highs, but it was awfully rough getting there. So some people in chat were saying, "Oh, this price action is kind of messy," and Protocolis were saying, "This is probably the new normal." Master Yoda, yeah, I already understand. I personally, I don't understand it. Here's what, and so that was saying, here's what I understand. They'll do all sorts of crazy shit, and it'll be like as confusing as hell, and then in the end they'll buy it up. So I don't know if there's really a thing there. Seems to me that all that's going on is by the dip, and the rest is noise. Am I wrong? I'm probably wrong, but that's how I feel right now. That's how I feel right now. Darn. Come back here, you. 9:32. Oh, they did have to wait until after the London close to get there. Okay, cool. We got it out. Okay, well, I'm glad that I finally got a runner, but it sucks that it took like what, 3 or 4 tries to get it. But in the beginning, I'd say the scalping was going pretty good. My read in the 10-year right now seems okay. It may be time to switch back over. I don't know. Well, I don't really like the treasuries in the summer, but maybe in the fall, treasuries might become more fertile ground for us again. I don't know. VIX below 30 is a slower grind nowadays, but still nice movement. VIX above 30 is much more ideal day trading. They just buying everything at all prices. Really, it's a new reality. Yeah. Hmm. I was just thinking back on how it's buying the buy the dip again today. And I've been doing that a lot lately where I'll buy the dip and it works out. And I just kind of like making money on it makes me uncomfortable and makes me feel kind of dirty. I don't like it. Wow. I liked that treasury trade though. That treasury trade makes me feel real good. I don't think um I don't know. For the trade for points, I don't feel like I really made progress on that one today. In fact, I had a period where even though I was switching back and forth between buy and sell, it just did not turn out. So interesting. In fact, at 50, I did it 3 times. Buy, buy, buy. Didn't get it. Sell, buy, sell, sell. Didn't get those. Buy. Got it at 29.50, which was back where I was originally trying it in the first place. Yeah, it's we've got to well, obviously the bigger edge would be more fundamental basis, right? But if we're going to take it the technical analysis, I think that we can try and find some other things that can make that more accurate. I'm not quite sure where we can look for it, but I would like to try and make that more accurate. I'm not sure what else I'm waiting for. I think it's time to go. Thank you guys for watching. It's gonna be summer, so we're gonna have to start chatting it up a bit more. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.